privileged to have Ansel Joedra from India, and she's a cloud technical expert at Google. You guys enjoy the session and get to learn, connect, and grow. So with no further ado, I will want to welcome our speaker who will introduce herself, then kick on the session. Hey, Ansel.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining in. I hope that other people might also join, but it's okay. So, I am Anshul Dogar and I'm currently working in Google as a cloud technical solutions engineer. It's been around 9 months now since I joined Google, and I'm working in the networking shard of the Google Cloud. So, when I say networking shard, I mean that whatever underlying infrastructure we have at Google, it has to work on networks, right? So that particular network needs someone needs someone so that they can handle it if there is any issue. Customers report back to us with stating that they're not able to reach the resources, the VMs and whatnot. So it is my responsibility to check their setup and check their networks and tell them what's going wrong and troubleshoot the issue basically. So that's a brief introduction about me. And today's session is going to be Cloud Essentials 101, wherein I'll be covering a few things which each cloud service provider has to offer. And then we'll dig deeper of what Google Cloud has to offer as a whole. And I'll also cover the products which Google Cloud offers to young budding developers like you guys. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me know once it's accessible. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, what is cloud computing? So, cloud computing is basically the use of hardware and software resources, and you can reach those hardware and software resources via network, usually over the internet. So, these hardware and software resources, you don't need to manage them, you don't need to take care of them. The software which you have on the hardware, it's managed by the people who are managing the cloud. You just need to take care of the application which you have running on your hardware, take care of that, and that's all. So in order to reach your hardware and hardware and the running software over it, you just merely need an internet connection, and that's all. So in the past, we have seen that people used to run applications and programs on physical devices which they themselves used to maintain and handle, right? So it obviously takes up more time, money, energy, right? So to take care of all that, the cloud came into the picture, right? So they everything, as I already mentioned, the hardware and the software is maintained by the cloud provider people, and you can just take care of the applications. So as the second point mentioned, the cloud computing allows people access to those same kind of resources over the internet. That's all. So what in cloud, so what do you mean by cloud? So we do have big data centers there somewhere in the world, right? And those data centers have the necessary hardware and the OS or the software on it, which allows you to run platforms or keep your data stored in databases so that you can remotely run few queries and access your data, bring out the analytics out of it, or even run your code, right? So you don't need to take care of the underlying I would say development kit or anything, right? So you just need to write your code and run it over the infrastructure which the cloud providers provide. Similarly, you can just mainly run your queries. You have BigQuery there in Google Cloud, and even Cloud SQL, MySQL, Postgres SQL. Just run your queries, access your data, and find the meaningful info out of it, and maybe it can be also helpful for you to analyze your data, bring some meaningful information out of it, right? So all this, whatever I just is, everything is available in the cloud with all the infrastructure you need, and you don't even need to bother about it. And when you have your own infrastructure, you have to take care of the downtime as well. So you want your infrastructure to be up all the time so that you don't run out of business or there is no loss of money or anything, right? So that also involves a lot of manpower. But then when you use the cloud providers, the infrastructure with the cloud providers give you, they ensure that you don't have any downtime. And even if they do have downtime, they will try to get it up within minutes, so that we every cloud provider has very big customers in hand, right? So they don't want those businesses to get down even for a single minute. So yeah, I mean, it is the cloud provider responsibility to provide you that uptime. Also, when I say your data, when you store it on the cloud, every cloud provider ensure that your data is secure, encrypted, and is stored in encrypted devices, right? So that no hacker can get into your data and steal your data, at least, right? So that sort of security is also provided by any cloud provider. So yeah, these are the basic benefits of cloud computing, and I think that's the same thing I have covered in the next slide as well. So these are the basic benefits of cloud computing, that is efficiency and cost reduction. So you don't need to spend money on maintaining your devices or purchasing the equipment, right? Everything which you use on cloud, you're gonna pay only for what you use, right? And cloud, since cloud service provider also provide you no downtime thing, right? So you reduce cost over there as well, because you don't have to have manpower to maintain your devices, right? The next thing is data security. So as I mentioned, all the data which you store on the cloud service provider hardware, right, it is obviously encrypted, right? You have all sort of authentication in place to actually access the data. So if you're aware of the kind of security which Google offers, you have like interim security, then you have two-way factor authentication, then your data is stored in an encrypted disks or devices, right? So at every step there is security maintained. So even though if there is any hacker who is trying to hack into your device or steal your data, it will be very hard for him to do that. Next is scalability. So cloud is basically helpful for budding businesses or growing businesses. So let's say if a business is growing in, right now they have, let's say, 10 VMs in place, and that is taking care of, let's say, 1,000 customers. Now if they are, if the business grows, the company grows, the business is in demand, obviously the customers are going to grow, and those 10 VMs won't be able to handle those 2,000 customers requests, right? So obviously you need to scale your devices. So cloud providers usually offer you an option of auto scalability. So let's say your demand increase, obviously depending upon the number of demands, the underlying infrastructure to handle those requests will automatically increase. So as the first one says, as per your fluctuating or growing demands, the bandwidth demands, you have the option to auto scale your infrastructure. And let's say now it is now using 20 VMs, so you just pay for that. But let's say the demand goes down, obviously the auto scale will bring those 20 VMs down to 10 VMs. So you'll just be paying for 10 VMs. So it's like what you use, you pay only for that. And depending upon what you use, that sort of maintenance will also be provided, and it will be in-house. As I said, we have people over there who are maintaining those data centers so that you don't face any downtime. And the fourth point is control. So whatever data you are storing in the cloud, you have total control over it. The cloud service providers don't check your data, they don't sell your data, right? And they provide you full control and visibility over your data. So these are the basic benefits of cloud computing. Any questions till now? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So the benefits which I just mentioned, these are benefits which are provided by every cloud service provider, right? But then what makes Google Cloud more, or I would say the third best leading cloud service provider in the market? So let's see that. So since every cloud service provider, Google Cloud also offers the all those facilities, right? But the kind of infrastructure, the security, right, and the kind of facilities which Google Cloud provides to each and every user, it varies from other cloud service providers. So we're gonna discover that what makes Google Cloud differ from other cloud service provider. But yes, this slide covers every basic details which I just covered in the last two slides, mentioning what Google Cloud has to offer. But what extra it has to offer, we'll see in the next coming slides. So these are the 4 benefits in just you will see when you have, or you'll see when you use Google Cloud. So that is secure and reliable infrastructure. You have the you can unlock the value of the data you store there. You have the facility or the freedom of using multi-cloud, and the infrastructure and the facilities which Google Cloud provides definitely empower the budding developers like you guys. So we will go deep into each of these facilities or the values which Google Cloud offers. The number one is secure and reliable infrastructure. So as you can see this graph, right, these are the data centers we have all around the world which hosts our infrastructure and the OS over it. So as you can see, we have so many data centers, and we try our best to have so that the user who is trying to set up his infrastructure is nearest to each of the pops. So let's say if I'm sitting in India, you see there is a center here in Mumbai, Delhi, and Chennai, if I'm not wrong, right? So the nearest center to me is Delhi, right? So if I am setting something in the Google infra, I'll be choosing infrastructure from a pop which is near to me, so it will be Delhi. So it's the vast area which Google infrastructure has covered, so that the users face least latency in order to reach the data or the infrastructure, makes us special. And also the infrastructure or the network which Google uses for Google Cloud platform, is the same network which other users use to go to other services which Google offers. Let's say you want to reach to google.com, or you want to use other Google services, Gmail, Slides, or whatnot. It's the same infrastructure which is getting used for GCP as well. So as you can see we have 3 regions: Asia Pacific, Americas, and EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and we have POPs in each region for the users to have better connectivity. Now, so typical cloud service providers, you can see there are a lot of hops between the cloud service provider and the user. So when you have lots of hops, that means that there are chances of high latency, the round trip time is going to be high, and the user who's trying to access something, the data or the request has to travel so many hops. It will take some time to process the data at the cloud provider infrastructure and for the response to come back. So let's say if a task has to get completed, is expected to get completed within 2 seconds, it will take around 10 seconds or 11 seconds. But with the Google infrastructure, you see, as I already mentioned, we have nearest POPs to each user's ISP, right? And then once the data reaches Google's infrastructure, we have the superior infrastructure, as you must be aware, that the data, once it enters Google infrastructure, it will remain within Google infrastructure. It will get processed by your infrastructure at the data center and come back. So here you don't have those many hops, right? So you can see here it's just 2 hops and you reach the Google Cloud. Let's say when you reach your VM, it will reach your VM. So the request, which is supposed to take 2 seconds, it will take 2 seconds or maybe less than that. So that's the advantage you have when you use Google Cloud. Now, what is Compute Engine? So, Compute Engine is Google's infrastructure as a service. So, when I say infrastructure as a service, that means that you're using Google's infrastructure to host your applications over it, right? So, the best part of that is you needn't take care of the infrastructure, right? You just need to take care of the application which you have over it. So you have the freedom of the kind of machine you want to build, right? So let's say you are looking for something which is of a high performance. And so accordingly, you can take up the number of CPUs, number of memories, and create your VM. If you're looking for something simple, you want to host an application which is not going to consume much of your CPU and memory, you can have a machine which is of low CPU and memories, right? So obviously, if you are consuming more resources, you're gonna be charged more, and for how much time you're using it, accordingly, you'll be charged. Even if you're using low resources, you'll be charged less. So I mean, you have that flexibility of choosing the number of resources you want for your VM, right? So as the second point mentioned, you have custom machine types to reduce over provisioning and depending upon your requirement, the Google Cloud also offers you intelligent right sizing recommendations, right? So let's say you created a VM instance for, let's say for example, this command is written, right? You're using custom CPU and custom memory of 72 GB, right? But then you're not using this VM as that much, right? So it will give you a recommendation that you can save some money by using an instance of this amount of CPU and this amount of memory, so that you can uh, so that they can charge you less, right? Because you're not using your machine up to its capacity. So yeah, the fourth point is you have the option of preemptible VMs. So when I say preemptible VMs, it means that once you use the VM, you can shut them down, right? And then once you want to use them again, you can bring them up. So once the VM is shut down, obviously you won't be charged for it, right? So that helps you saving your costs. Yes, any doubts till now? So coming to security and reliability. So most of the customers, why do they choose Google Cloud? Because Google itself is known for its the measures which it takes to secure users' data and the reliability. Since we provide uh, that sort of service to a customer, they're reliable on us, right? Because they trust us, right? So this is something hard to build, and it's Google's um, popularity in this field that customers don't even think about twice uh, before choosing Google, right? So our approach to security is in 2 words: trust nothing, right? So that means that we trust that customers who are gonna upload data on Google infrastructure, it's there, but it's theirs. But then we are not gonna touch it. So as you can see, at each level, we provide the security, and it's called layer defense, in-depth security. So that means that, let's say your device is compromised, right? But then the network which is going to be used to get to that device, we have security measures inbuilt there, so that in order to reach to your device, we'll have something at a network level to block that particular attack, right? So you can see at the network level, at the storage level. So when I say storage level, your data is obviously be stored in encrypted disks, right? We have secure hardware, we have some inbuilt mechanisms at boot level or at the OS level. Your applications are also secured with the on the hardware on which they are deployed, right? So we have some sort of security at each and every level, so that any attacker who is trying to get your data, get your device, right, he is not able to attack that. So yeah, Google Cloud and privacy. So as I've already mentioned, Google doesn't own your data, you own your data, right? And we try our level best to provide the sort of privacy, the control, right? And we try a level best that your data is secure with us. Google never sells customer data to third parties, and Google does not use customer data for advertising. And as I already said, all your data is encrypted. And we have our own mechanism of securing your data. We guard your data, right? Okay, so any questions till now? So this is an example. This is the kind of infrastructure we have at our each data center, and as I already mentioned, Google Cloud tries its best that its servers are patched with zero downtime for users, and even if there is a downtime, they try to bring it up as soon as possible. And obviously, they have some mechanisms in place to keep the downtime as less as possible. Coming to the number two value which Google Cloud has to offer, that is unlock the value of data. So what infrastructure or what facilities do we offer to our customers to so that they can secure or store their data securely? So the first product which Google Cloud has to offer is cloud storage, right? So when I say cloud storage, we have buckets. I mean, some infrastructure in within Google Cloud wherein you can store your data. You can store your images, like files, and these buckets in which you store the data, they are highly available and fully managed. So you needn't uh, maintain or take care of the infra which stores your data, right? And once these buckets, I mean, you can access the data in these buckets over internet. You just need to expose these buckets to a resource which is accessible over internet, and then you can reach to these resources anytime you want. All you need is internet access. And Google also presents some APIs and other services for you to handle the data programmatically. So you can use REST APIs uh, to access this data. Let's say if you are writing some code, you can use REST APIs to access your data from cloud storage. The second thing is Cloud SQL. So Cloud SQL is a relational MySQL database which Google Cloud offers, which helps you manage and store data. So I think you already use SQL a lot, and MySQL or PostgreSQL for storing data and managing data, right? So even if you're using the Cloud SQL, the infrastructure on which the Cloud SQL is installed, you needn't maintain it. It is highly available. The performance is high. You run the query and you get the results within seconds, right? So all sort of maintenance events, patch management, everything is taken care by the people who are sitting at the Google Cloud side. All you just need to do, all you need to do is run your queries and get the results. That's it. So it increases your let's say efficiency and the time you take in maintaining the device you are actually using in making something meaningful out of that particular time. You're investing your time more on getting your work done faster. The third is cloud data store. So it is also a database service and it's schemaless, NoSQL, and managed. Right. So I this cloud data store is basically no SQL, non-relational, is used for storing non-relational data. You run SQL like queries and get meaningful information out of it. And again, it's fully managed. So I already explained what fully managed means is. So all you just need to do is run your queries, and even if your demand increase, let's say you want to run more queries, or if you're running a CPU intensive, memory intensive query, right? Obviously in the back for Google Cloud to provide the data within few seconds, in the back end, the infrastructure which is used to run the queries, it will auto scale on its own, so that the user doesn't get the required information in a longer time, right? This every cloud provider wants its users to get or process the data as soon as it can, so that as I already mentioned, you can use you for them to be more efficient. The infrastructure has to be very good enough so that they can do more work in less time. So yeah, this so the auto scaling plays a big role in that, and that happens in the backend on its own automatically, and the user isn't even aware of it that it happened, right? And the data was served to the user within very less time. Right. So the next data storage uh, thing is Google BigQuery. So it's a data warehouse for analytics, right? Here again, you run your big data related SQL queries, right? And sorry, I might be wrong here. So I think I'm not really an expert at big data, but yeah, I would say that here you can, since the amount of data can reach up to petabytes, you can store such huge amount of data in BigQuery because it's a data warehouse, and you can run queries to get meaningful information out of it. You can also use it for analytics to get some insights, right? The data in this big data warehouse is completely encrypted and durable and highly available. So that when I say highly available, that means that let's say you store data in one uh, VM, or let's say some infra, and if that particular machine went down, obviously the data, you don't want to have downtime, right? So that data will be stored in some other machine, and your traffic will be redirected internally to that particular machine, so that you don't have that downtime. So as every infra within Google Cloud is fully managed, even BigQuery is fully managed and serverless. So when we say serverless, it means that the underlying infrastructure which you are using, you needn't maintain it, right? So you just need to run queries and that's all. You needn't worry about the infra. You can get real-time analytics on the streaming data. So that's something I think it's unique to Google Cloud. You can run your machine learning related queries, right? And you can make something meaningful out of it, right? And you have the best thing about BigQuery is that when you run the queries, the time it takes to give you the results, it's very quick. It's within seconds, right? Other cloud providers who offer the very same facility, the amount of time it takes to turn back the results, it's very high. So most of the customers, when they are looking for something something like a data warehouse and the amount of time it takes to return the results, they find BigQuery very a very useful product, and most of the customers vouch for it and come to Google Cloud just because of this. Yes, so this cloud machine learning engine, it is mostly used for machine learning purposes, right? Again, it's fully managed service. You have low latency. That's what I have been talking about for so long. That the amount of time it takes to get the results, it's very low, right? You have high throughput batch predictions, right? And auto scaling is always available, and the end user who is trying to use this engine, they're not even aware that auto scaling is happening in the back end, right? So the amount of accuracy you get after running your queries, that is also uncomparable as compared to other cloud service providers. So it gives you can build superior models and deploy them into production in very less time. Right. So we'll be moving to the third value of the Google Cloud, which is freedom of using multi-cloud. So it's necessary that sometimes you will feel like that, hey, this, I'll just take names that, let's say Amazon or AWS has some facilities which you like more than what Google Cloud has to offer, and offer, and you would like to use that facility. But then you also have something in the Google Cloud that you want to use, and let's say you're making a project and you want to use both the products which both the cloud providers have to offer. So Google Cloud offers you that flexibility, that you can make some sort of arrangement so that you can use the facilities of other cloud service providers as well, right? There is also a facility that you can uh, use tunnels or interconnects to reach from GCP to your on-prem infra. So what is on-prem infra? Sometimes, so earlier what used to happen was, as I mentioned, that you used to have your own data centers, you had your own manpower to maintain the infra, the hardware, the software. You had manpower to handle the cost to maintain that hardware or the software, right? And then slowly people started moving to cloud. But then there are chances that you cannot shift everything from your own data center to cloud. You still want to have a facility that some of the data you can use from cloud to your from cloud to on-prem, right? So Google Cloud also offers that facility, right? You can have tunnels from GCP to your on-prem infra, and you can access data at very high speeds, right? We have tunnels and the interconnects are very high bandwidth, so you can actually transfer huge amount of data within seconds, right? So this is the kind of facility which Google Cloud also offers, and it gives you the freedom to make use of facilities which other cloud providers also offer. Now coming to the things which Google Cloud has to offer for budding developers. So, obviously, as developers, you want to focus more on your code or building application. You don't want to take care of the underlying infrastructure or the runtime you're going to use, right, to run your code. So that's where serverless infrastructure comes into picture, right? You don't need to have any sort of server management, right? You don't need to take care of the underlying infra. Everything is managed by people sitting there in Google Cloud. It's fully managed and secure. So whatever code you are pushing into Google Cloud, it will obviously be stored securely in some device, right? And you're gonna pay only for how much time you're using that infra, right? You so let's say you are pushing a code for some amount of time, you did your testing, and that's it, and you're gonna pay for only for the time for which you use that infra, right? That's all. So The programming model tells you it's event driven. So that means that only when you're using the, let's say, you have written a function or you have pushed the code, right? So till the time you are using or executing your code, that's it, you're done, right? So you are going to use the infra only for that time, and you're all done. So we have something called cloud functions in Google Cloud, and they work on trigger. So that means that, let's say, an event happens, you are going to trigger that cloud function only when that event happens, and whatever code you have written for that function, that will be executed, right? So that is an example of event driven product which we have within Google Cloud. Let's go to next. So yeah, this is what I was talking about, cloud functions. So it is event driven serverless platform. So you have simple development experience. It auto scales with usage, and functions respond to external events. So only respond to triggers. So let's say you have written a code and you haven't written a function locally there. You are just pointing to this function which is there on the Google Cloud, right? So whenever, let's say, for you have written a code and you're looking for some event that is supposed to happen, and when it happens, some other thing should happen. So that some other thing is taken care of by that cloud function. So it will only trigger when that event happens. And you're only build only for the duration you are using that particular cloud function. So let's say whenever that event triggers, the corresponding function will be triggered and the results will come out accordingly. So for how much ever time that function was used, you'll only be charged for that. That's all. Uh, App Engine is Google's platform as a service. So platform as a service means you needn't, as I already mentioned, you needn't care or bother about the underlying infra which you're gonna need to run your code, right? You just need to download your software development kit, right? You can choose the runtime on which you wanna write code, and then you can push your code. That's it. Everything. How are they gonna push push the code in the underlying infra? You needn't bother about it. So once you push the code, underlying infrastructure is actually, I'm not sure how familiar you are about it. So if you've heard of Dockers, right, and Kubernetes, so underlying infrastructure is like your code will be stored in a Docker image as a Docker image, and that Docker image will be pushed in as in a GK infrastructure. And then once that is done, you'll be provided an external facing IP so that you can reach your code over internet, right? So that's how it works in the back end. So yeah, as I already told you, you as a budding developer just need to bother about your code and how you need to push the code. You needn't worry about the underlying infrastructure which is used to push your code and to store your code, and that's all. So here also it is fully managed. It is auto scalable, obviously. So your demand for that particular service can grow over time, and then if it grows, if it indeed grows, the auto scaling will happen automatically. And that we come to G Suite, and nowadays it is called Google Workspace. So this is Google Cloud Software as a Service. So that means that you just pay for using the software which Google has built for you and which is actually hosted on cloud, right? So you pay for the software whenever you use. So right now, what we use, it's a free version of these softwares. But then, if you pay for these softwares, you will get extra facilities which free users don't get. But yeah, all these applications are fully managed and are obviously available in the cloud environment. So yeah, these are all the softwares or what you must be aware what all the software Google has in the Google Workspace. So all these softwares are actually software as a service. Google's offer as a software as a service, and they are hosted on cloud. So yeah, that's all. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you understood what an all Google Cloud has to offer, and I hope that you use the products which Google Cloud has to offer for all the budding developers. So once you create an account on GCP, GCP gives you $300 for you to experiment around, see how you like Google Infra, and then accordingly, if you like it and you want to use more, you can have a billing account set up, and then accordingly you will be charged for whatever service you use. So do use those $300. See how you can use the Google infrastructure to uh, build your code, run your applications over there, and yeah, I hope you like the session. Thank you, and if you have any doubts, do let me know.
Thank you, Anshal. There are some questions in the chat section.
Oh, okay, I wasn't looking at it. Let me see. Um, okay, Wakai, I'm not really sure how to answer that question. Is Google Cloud like Firebase? I'm really not sure about the answer, so I'm sorry. Uh, how does Google Cloud compare to AWS? So, compared to GCP, so Google Cloud is actually GCP. It's called Google Cloud Platform, and compared to AWS. So, it's a very hard question to answer. AWS obviously has some facilities superior, and so first of all, let me answer it like this: AWS came before GCP, so obviously it has understood the market better, customers' requirements better, and obviously Amazon is actually superior to other cloud providers available, right? So the facilities which AWS provides to its customers, it's a bit superior than other cloud providers offer. So, but there are some facilities which customers like only about Google Cloud, and they don't like it about AWS. So most of the times customers come to us just because our networks are so secure, the kind of security we offer on the underlying infrastructure, and also the kind of I would say the support which we offer to the customers, and the kind of the welcoming behavior which we have to offer as much as we can to the customers brings a lot of value, and customers that's why try to avail the services which Google Cloud has to offer. But yeah, if I talk about the features, obviously AWS has far superior features as compared to Google Cloud, and indeed Google Cloud is coming up to the speed in regards to the features which other cloud service providers, and I would say the leading cloud service providers, have to offer. So Azure and AWS are obviously in the leads, and that is why Google Cloud is in the third position when it comes to the list of cloud service providers. So yeah, Google Cloud indeed has so much to catch up to, but yeah, there are some features which only Google Cloud offers and other cloud service providers don't offer, and that gives us a bit of a lead there also. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. And I think that's all we had, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Does anyone else have a question? I don't think so. Or any remarks? Does anyone have a question or any remarks?
Pricing model in GCP. Uh, so as I said, when you use that, let's say if you're trying to use a service, I would say, let's say I'll go with the VMs example. So when you use the service, right, when you start deploying a VM, the amount of C, so once you go to the VMs page, right, you choose the number of resources you want, the memory you want, and let's say if you click on the number of CPUs you want, in the side you will see for the CPU or the number of CPUs which you have chosen, right? You will see the equivalent amount of dollars uh, mentioned right next to it. So now next to go to the memory you want to use. So whatever memory or how much memory you want to use, accordingly you will see an increment in the amount of money uh, in the side panel. So it all depends on how much resources you use and for how much time you use. So I think there is a document available online which actually gives you the pricing model for each and every service you use uh, on milliseconds basis, right? So go check that and you will get a good idea about it. Okay, resources to learn GCP, get certified. Uh, no, not really. So actually, the document. So it depends in which area you want to get certified. So let's say I'm a network engineer here at Google. So for me, getting a certification in the networking field looks to be a good option, right? So we have fantastic documentation available for each and every area or each and every product you want to handle or learn more about. So I got my certification in Google in the networking field just by going through the documentations which we have online. And if you're looking forward to some sort of training, so there are good courses on Udemy, right? Only for certification purposes. You can go check that out. They'll give you each and every detail about the products or whatever certification you want to do. Go check up courses on that particular certification and the trainer will give you good resources to learn from. And I would say before going to Udemy or any other platform, go check out the documentations which we have. Like, I mean, they give you uh, all the things. I mean, a great description about the product, how you can deploy the product, right? And also, once you know about the product, you have those $300 to use on GCP to learn more or get a good hands-on that product, right? So go use that. Any other questions? So I hope the session was useful.
Thank you, Anchal. It was so nice having you, and yeah, thank you so much. We've learned a lot, and also this session for everyone else who's attended, and for those who RSVP'd and did not attend, the session has been recorded, and you'll have it in YouTube by the end of today. Yeah. Anyone else with a question or a closing remark? You can type in the chat section. Felix says thank you. I don't think does anyone else have a question or a closing remark? No one is typing in the chat section, so I guess that is it. Thank you so much, Anshal. It was great having you. We've learned so much, and thank you so much. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you. For everyone else who attended the session, please remember to kindly fill a feedback form that we'll send like you'll get an email from us, from DSC Moi. Please fill the feedback form. We will really appreciate. Thank you. Let
Thank
me,
you, everyone.
okay.
I just said thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. I had a great time. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any sort of questions. I'll be glad to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. I will hand over to Ian to do the closing. Ian, please.
Awesome. Oh, am I visible, audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ansel, for creating the time. And it's New Year, it's family time. You created time to share with us. This session is recorded, so you can share with friends who are maybe could not manage to get the link to YouTube shall be shared shortly. So thank you guys for showing up. We appreciate our speaker for being here. And thank you for being such an inspiration. We now know about GCP, and we're glad, and we learned, we connect, and we've grown. On behalf of my team, thank you to all of you who made this event a success. Oh, enjoy your night, nice evening, and Merry Christmas to the Christians. Happy holidays.
Great. Have a good evening ahead, guys, and happy Sunday.
Yeah,
Bye
bye.
bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.